Kathy?
Thank you, David. Our speaker today is our own Sarah Catlin, Executive Director of Access Arts. Sarah was born and raised in Springfield, Missouri, and relocated to Columbia from South Carolina in 1999 to work on a PhD at MU, focusing on women writers of the American South, folklore, and film. For the last decade, she balanced raising kids and volunteering on nonprofit boards and commissions, including Ragtag Film Society, Planned Parenthood, Citizen Jane Film Festival, Y'all Rock, Como Girls Rock, the Chamber of Commerce Women's Network, and Downtown Columbia Leadership Council. Sarah has volunteered as an on-air programmer at KOPN 89.5 FM since 2007 and served as interim general manager, overseeing the move from downtown to their new building on Bernadette. Sarah has also managed campaigns for progressive candidates, including Columbia School Board members Catherine Sasser and Blake Willoughby, State Representative David Tyson Smith, and Boone County Treasurer Jenna Radel. She was deputy campaign manager for Judy Baker's 2020 state Senate race. Sarah is happy to be feeding her passion for providing opportunities to underserved communities through her work with Access Arts. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks, Kathy. What a nice introduction. Thanks, everybody. So I tried to make a little slideshow because trying to talk about art is almost like trying to write about music. I'm going to try to share my screen and hopefully not. How are we doing? Are you seeing a big screen that says Access Arts at home?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So as you all, I know a lot of you are aware, we were founded in 1971 and we became an official certified nonprofit in 1974. And we were founded by Hearst John, and that is Martha John and John John's dad, who was an architect. He's got several houses, and his own home was right across the street from us here over in the Old Columbia Country Club. And you know, Martha and Jim Downey still live over there in their family home. But they had a brother named Larry, who was born with cerebral palsy, and Hearst John was always looking for ways that Larry could be kind of plugged in to the community. You'll have to remember in 1971, this was before, I'm gonna pop out of my screen share for a minute. This was before ADA regulations in buildings. This was even before the 504 Section 504 was passed, and you know, that was made, if you guys remember the film Crip Camp that was at True False, and Judy Heumann, she had a book called Being Human. Dave is going to drop a link in the chat to her book. This is before all of that. So if you were moving around in society and you were wheelchair bound, you know, there were no curb cuts, there were no doors, weren't wide enough. So Hearst really had to go out of his way to create the space he wanted. As I was preparing for this, I found a little short video they made with Martha talking about Hearst and then the move to Naoma Powell. And I'm going to try to play that for you. Sometimes when you try to play a video over Zoom and sharing, it can be a little wonky. So let's just cross our fingers. I'm only going to show about 1.5 minutes of it. So if it gets really scratchy on your end, just hold tight. I'm not going to make you do this for 15 minutes. But let's see if I can get this to share in a way that's reasonable. This is not a video I made, it's a video I found. Okay. Oh, it's going. Are you seeing that yet? No, I need to re-hit share. Hang on. Thanks, Kate. There I am. I knew this was going to be a tricky transition. Here's my Need to get back to there we go. Now, here, let's try that. Are you seeing the Access Arts logo now on a black background?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Cross your fingers that this sound isn't just horrible.
When Dad came to service in about 1971, partially as a response to my older brother, who was born with cerebral palsy. And it's pretty severe. It was spastic quadriplegia, could not do anything for himself, and had to be, it couldn't even, you had to really know how to listen to him to understand his speech. It was clear, however, that he was pretty intelligent. Dad was always trying to find good opportunities for him to do something. School of Service was an opportunity for disabled people and able people to live together and learn from each other. A phrase that I heard Dad use a lot, which I think came from Schweitzer. It's reverence for life. And then there's, in relation to that, is one of Dad's particular tenets, living harmony. He also wrote poetry that nobody ever knows about because it's all in file cabinets. Interesting person.
So I just wanted to share that first little bit, so you could hear Martha talk. And also it just has those really great black and white photos that I don't have access to anywhere else. And so you could see kind of the original house, which I understand was maybe over near the library. Some of you probably know better than I do. So I thought really interesting. And she goes on, it's a fundraising video, so she goes on to make an ask. You don't need to watch that part. But really interesting that he had this vision, go back to this, to create this place for his son that didn't exist. So he died apparently somewhat unexpectedly in 1979. And at that point, that's when Naoma Powell took over, whom a lot of you knew. And she was with us for a quarter of a century. And she kind of morphed the organization from being the dream that Hearst had of kind of a group home situation where his son could eventually live, to more Access Arts as we know it today, because that was kind of her, arts were her thing. She moved everything over here to 1724 McAllister into her family home, which is where my office is today. Those of you who came to the meeting on the first of the month in November, we met just next to my office in the classroom that has been added on. I thought we could quickly go through and talk about the spaces that we own. A lot of people don't realize how large our footprint is. We have the Blue House, which is 1724 McAllister, where we met. We have the little residence next door, which is a 3-bedroom ranch, and that's where some of our artists and residents live. We have Caddy Corner 800 Moss, and that is our fiber studio and our ceramic studio that Naoma did a capital campaign for in the early 90s and built that for us. And then we've added about 3 years ago a rented space across town, and I've got photos of these, 2109 Cottle Drive. So here we've got McAllister, the Blue House. I'm sitting just inside this window. This is the corner of the classroom that you sat in when we met. There's a little garden out back, which you didn't really see, that we plant in the summer, and the kids can go out there and putz around and dig around. And we usually try to put some edible things out there, like cherry tomatoes and carrots and runner beans and things that they can pick and eat, because some of them just really haven't seen that done until they come here. And then I gave you 2 glimpses into some of the private studio spaces we offer. They're messy. I didn't tell them I was coming down. I just snuck these photos last week. So you can see on the left there and on the top right corner are 2 of the studio spaces. So they get a desk, they get a wheel, they get the ceramics people do, they get some shelving, and then they've got their own, there's a separate kiln room with a couple of electric kilns down in our basement here. And that used to be where all the classes were held, was down in the basement. When Naoma first, before Moss existed, everything happened, pardon me, here in the house. And then we had the capital campaign and built 800 Moss, which is the Caddy Corner building. This is the view in the top center that you see as you're passing down Old Highway 63. And just to the left there, you see the house. At the far left is the residence. You can barely see the end of where I'm sitting in the middle, back in the distance there. Upstairs is this really gorgeous space with all of our looms. Again, I just snuck this photo. Marina didn't know I was coming. Hopefully I don't have anything embarrassing to her in this photo, but she's done a lot of work to open this space up, store some of the excess equipment so that it's more accessible and easier to move around in the space. She's organized the supplies. It's just really a different space since Marina, our new studio manager, took over. And then in the basement, we've got the shelving and there's a door out to the parking lot there you can see in the distance. And we've got 12 wheels down there, and there's a glaze room and a kiln room and a little bit of other storage. And the way this was designed, it's all ground level. So the fiber studio, if you were in a wheelchair, you could wheel in from the street level off of Moss, or off of McAllister at that end door that you can see that's brown right in the middle of the photo of the building right here. Or from the parking lot off to the side is also ground level, kind of like a walkout basement style. So it was all designed with accessibility in mind, keeping true to John's dream of making this space that's accessible. You're going to get a sneak peek into the residence. Oh, I forgot, I added this slide. When you go over to 800 Moss, up in the fiber studio, there's a center beam that runs the length of it. And there's about 40 different pieces of paper with all of the donors that donated and foundations and things to the capital campaign. And I went over there and grabbed these photos because I think you'll recognize some of these names. Hopefully I didn't leave anybody out, but those are still there and they've been there since the early 90s. So any student that comes in can look up and see and who they have to thank for that lovely space that they're in. Now here's where I thought I was going. So this is the residence. This sits at the corner of McAllister and 63 across from Moss. And this is where you wouldn't normally get to see this. But they've got a shared living space and a shared kitchen and a shared bathroom. And then they've got 3 private bedrooms, and then they've got internet provided, all the utilities, and laundry service, like laundry machines that they can use. And so 3 of our artists in residence have housing that's provided by us. And then the newest space is Cottle Drive. And this was the best picture I could find with having to drive over there. Now there's our logo is on the building, kind of above that triple window. So if you drive past, you'll see it. It's, if you're not familiar, if you go north on Stadium, and if you go past the mall's on your left, and you go through the crazy diverging diamond over the highway, it's just another, not even half a mile. You pass Elizabeth Alleman's office there on the left, and you pass Columbia Independent School. And then there's a really big break time. And then we're just across the little street, which is called Cottle, C-O-T-T-L-E Drive. We're just across Cottle Drive from the break time, across from the Cosmo Park golf course. We look out onto the golf course. So we've got this big rented space. That big sliding garage door is ours. And inside there, when you first walk in, there's a small gallery, which is that photo on the left. There's a storage room, and then there are 2 more studio spaces for our artists in residence. That's the bottom center picture with the 2 wheels. That's set up to be a shared space. This is when we first moved in. So look how clean that wooden table is. It don't look like that anymore. And then there's 12 more wheels. That's the picture on the right. And interestingly, in the bottom right corner, that wheel that's yellow, that has the 2 kind of oval things on either side, that is a wheelchair accessible wheel. So the pedal, you normally would drive the motor that makes the wheel spin with a pedal on the floor. You can see them there like a car. But that one, it's got you can't see it very well, but there's a handle that comes up next to it, kind of like a gear. And so somebody can have no mobility from the waist down. They can roll up to that. They can lean their elbows on those oval yellow things and reach in and steady themselves. And they can control the speed with their right hand. So that's a pretty neat thing that you don't see every day. Let's see what's next. Oh, and then next I've got just a slide of just our basic full-time staff. We've got myself, full-time. We've got Kenna Weber. She's our director of operations. She is retired early, obviously, because she's a young person, from the university. She was in charge for a little over a decade of all the residence halls. She did all of the design for those and kind of operations facilities. She came in and regularized. She's an organizer at heart for sure, and she is an interior designer on the side, and then refinishes furniture. She's amazing. She has so many skills. But she came in to MU and organized things in such a way that somebody could call her from a residence hall and say, I'm standing in McReynolds 119. And she could say, the paint is a semi-gloss, Sherwin-Williams eggshell. There should be these 5 pieces of furniture in there, and they should have these serial numbers on them. The last time we replaced the carpet was X year. It's scheduled to be replaced again X year. She had that down to room by room for like 10 or 12 residence halls. So like, she's incredible. They scooped her up with the new hospital they're building. They scooped her over into the medical school. And the last couple of years that she worked before she retired, she actually designed the new hospital, did all the interior design for that. So she's got some skills. And the way we were able to coax her back out of her retirement is she's only 30 hours a week, up to 30 hours a week. So she's usually with us between 25 and 30 hours a week. She's so good, she manages to get it done in that amount of time. Then the third face there is Marina Cano. And I mentioned her earlier when we were talking about the fiber studio. She's our fiber studio manager. She teaches usually beginning weaving and an intermediate weaving, and then a topics class every session. Right now it's some kind of a dye class. They're dyeing things and doing resists with wax and things on fabric and fibers. And then she usually teaches the youth weaving class as well. And she's actually only at 35 hours a week right now. She does all of that. And then on the right is Andrew Ludwig, and he's the only other full-time employee, and he's our ceramic studio manager. Marina has an MFA that she just finished, and that photo is her actually reading her MFA piece that she wrote and standing under a piece of it over at MU last spring. Andrew actually came to us in 2021 and started taking classes, and he's not like self-taught, but he does not have a degree in ceramics. He learned from our studio managers, and then he was an artist in residence, and then we hired him full-time to manage he manages both studios, which is no small task. And then he also is largely responsible for our ceramics artists in residence, for being like their first point of contact. And there's not 7 of them right now. So it's a big job. So that's who we are. Here's what we do, a big chunk of it. And I've got some more pictures in a second, so you don't have to keep looking at text. But our main offerings are adult classes. Those are 6-week classes. You'd come once a week for 6 weeks, and then often have access to some open studio times during the week where you could come practice independently. Our main offering is our ceramics. You can both throw on the wheel or build things by hand. Weaving on the looms, and also spinning has been a big thing. We usually have a beginning and an intermediate spinning class. Those are taught by Kate Dodig. And those fill every semester. She's been doing those for 18 months or so now. We've got a bunch of youth classes and camps, both clay and weaving, for kids that are a little older, like 10 to 16 or 17. We've got something that starts younger called media exploration, where they would come to a 6-week class, and every week they would do something a little different. They might do paper mache one week, they might try one of the looms the next week, they might do clay the third week. So they kind of explore the different media. And as they get older, the thinking being they would then specialize kind of into one of the other classes with the older kids. We have a dedicated adaptive class, and typically following Hurst John's dream, most kids are just in together. If we've got a kid that's got some developmental delays, and if there's any way at all that we can just have them in the regular classroom, even if that means we have to add an extra aide for that class to kind of help keep a thumb on them, that's what we like to do. But there are some kids who just really, their needs are so severe that they really do need kind of one-on-one, a smaller, quieter classroom. So we do have a separate adaptive art class for those kids. Another thing we do that a lot of people don't realize is on all these days that Columbia Public Schools is closed for teacher work days, and there's a lot of them. There were 10 days this year during the school year, and it's just like, it's a Tuesday and all of a sudden there's no school. It's a Friday. We do a thing called a Schools Out Day Camp, and we'll run a camp from like 7:30 in the morning until about 5:30 at night. And we schedule those in such a way that a working parent who has a regular like 8 to 5 schedule can get their kid dropped off safely with us, go do their work day, and then come pick them up at the end of the day. There aren't a lot of places in town that offer that kind of drop off schools out camp. And a lot of them, they'll do a thing where it's like from 9 in the morning until 3, which is fine. But if you actually have a job and an 8-hour shift, I don't know how you're supposed to get your kid there or home again. So we really do design those with working parents in mind. We do 8 weeks of summer camp, same thing. There's an early drop off. We keep them until after 5. We're also one of the few places that runs summer camps clear into August. The last week that we ran camp, the only 2 games in town were us and Trips. Everybody else had shut down their summer camps. And so we were full and then some the very last week that we offered in August because parents need childcare. I mean, some people don't have paid vacation or they only have so much. And so you've got to have someplace, safe that you can leave your kid if you are going to try to work. We also do private events. We can usually accommodate up to about 40 people. It's a pretty big group, but we can do it. We can do clay parties where you can make something with clay. We could really do just about anything we have the equipment to do. Like we don't have the setup to do photo developing anymore. We don't have the setup to make stained glass. I mean, there's some things we don't do, but if it's paper mache, if it's something, line drawing, we can typically printmaking, find somebody to teach that. We have Girl Scout troops come in and get their pottery badges with us, all kinds of fun stuff. So those are you just contact us and we'll try to help you if you've got an idea for a party. I'm also really proud of our Benton Art Club, and I've got some photos coming of some of this. The Benton kiddos, we've been doing this for a few years now. 2 days a week, we walk a group over. So they're our partner in education and they're very nearby. And the biggest challenge of getting school kids over here is the transportation. So the fact that we can walk them over makes this possible. We have volunteers who come and meet at Access Arts and walk over and walk the kids back to us after school. It's 60 kids a week. There's 30 kids that come on Monday and 30 kids that come on Wednesday. And then they're split into 2 smaller groups of 15 and 15, but 60 kids a week that we serve. It's absolutely free to them. They just sign up for it and get to come. And they come over here and we give them a big healthy snack and they have some time outside in the yard if the weather permits in the backyard, which backs up to a neighborhood park. So there's a lovely green space out back beyond that garden that you saw the photo of. And then they do some art. They usually do a project or 2, and then their grown-ups come and get them a little after 5. And that's just funded by donations and grants. It's something we really love doing and a way to serve our community. The kids at Benton, you might remember that in my memory, there was talk of closing Benton. And instead of closing it, they switched it to being the STEM elementary and being magnet elementary to kind of try to save it from being closed. But it still really struggles. 99% of the students there qualify for free and reduced, for not just reduced, but a free school lunch. Everybody in the school gets breakfast and lunch provided. They don't even question it. Like nobody pays for breakfast or lunch because so many kids there are poor. They have a lot more minority students. I forget, it's like 60% or something of the students are minority. They have a whole lot of turnover throughout the year. Families that are struggling to find and keep their housing. So kids are in and out. Even the kids that are there all year, might have 4 or 5 different addresses in the course of a school year. So it's definitely a community that could use a little extra love, and we're very happy to be able to bring them over here and feed them up and love on them once a week during the school year. We also offer free classes for military veterans. There's no trick. You just sign up. It's free. It's grant funded through a partnership with Truman VA. And you typically, there's a dedicated clay class that's taught by a veteran, and that's where we started, and that's still available, but we've started expanding where we've got people taking weaving and other classes. So really you can use it toward any of our adult classes now. And that's really cool. And so please tell your friends, because we would like to serve more people in that program. I think it's, we don't try to keep it a secret, but it seems like it's, despite my talking about it every chance I get, a well-kept secret. And then I mentioned our artists in residence program. And so basically the 3 young people that live next door in the residence serve 60 service hours a month. And that repays us for their housing. They get, each person gets a private studio space, like 200 pounds of clay a month, all kinds of things, access to our kilns. It's usually in ceramics because that's a high expense setup to have the clay, the kiln, the wheel. Usually artists that work in ceramics, they need a residency or someplace where they can land that has all that set up for them. But we do have one that's a graphic design right now. And so it's not limited to ceramics. That just tends to be who we get. So we have 3 that live in the house. And then we have 4 more that are what we call studio only. So they don't live next door. They just have private studio space. They live elsewhere. They do 35 service hours a month. And then I promised photos. So here's some photos related to our ceramics program. That top center is just, I thought it was kind of fun to see the bulletin board and the kinds of things they're writing. This is down in Moss. On the left-hand side is our glaze tiles from Cottle that shows the different studio glazes we have and how they look if there's black slip under it or not, how they look if there's a shiny coat of glaze over the top or not. There's some student work on the bottom center there just waiting to go into the kiln. That's just raw clay that's just air dried. And then on the right was just some work that happened to be out on the outside shelves that had just come out of the gas kiln when I happened to walk over there. And then the top right is a workshop I took with my family. It was the ornament making workshop that we taught last weekend, and we rolled out ornaments and made them. I don't see anything there from my family, but it was a fun class. And then here's some weaving related photos. We've got a couple things on looms. We've got a little rainbow loom that we've been handing out, little kits to make those rainbow looms at our tabling events. Bottom center is a linotype print, like a carved linoleum print that one of our artists in residence made that we're using for our thank you notes. So we're printing those as thank you notes for Como Gives. And then on the right is a spinning wheel and some supplies there that were just tucked in the corner when I went over. Here are some youth programs photos. There's me helping a young man at Art in the Park. We took a loom with us and let people sit down and try it out. There's Teddy. Oh, I got Teddy in here twice. It's not because he's the cutest kid in the world, but he is. Teddy and Oliver there in the center. We have a big window in the classroom and we let them paint it from time to time. So that's them working on painting that. And then Teddy and a couple of friends on the right there from summer camp. Emily, bottom center, is a new weaver. We started offering youth weaving. We're on our 2nd session of it. We hadn't offered it for quite some time. Actual loom weaving. And then Marina took that on, and we have a little dedicated core of students that we found. They all but one, which was my daughter, because she wanted to do clay, signed up for the 2nd session. And Emily she is a weaver. I mean, she is serious about it. She and another young man named Luke come to mind. Like, they love it. And so it's really neat to see them get in there and get started in that. And then there's just the wall in the classroom that just had some random art tacked up on it that I threw in there. Here's some photos related to our artists in residence. Those of you who came to the meeting in person here at the beginning of November passed through the dining area and probably glanced behind you. This is about half of the wall, the shelving, but some of that is Bo Badillion and Bede Clark and some local potters, but 90% of what you're seeing in that display shelf with the gray background is pieces of pottery from former artists in residence. When they leave, they typically will choose a piece that's kind of represents their body of work and leave it with us for our little collection there. And then we've got our current crop, top center and bottom right and bottom center. We took a trip to Kansas City and we're outside the Kemper, and then we went to First Fridays and we're sitting there having margaritas after we went to First Fridays. And then on the left is last year's crop, Allie Grace and Chance. Kate's there in the front. So really love our artists in residence. We've got a really wonderful crop. We normally get, usually it's been 4 or 5, so 8 is a lot. We have an eight artists in residence right now from last August to next August. Here's some of the tabling events. Since I've been here, we've started doing a lot more community events. We've got Art in the Park, top and center. I don't think we'd ever done the Chamber Business Expo. So bottom right is Christian and I at the Chamber Business Expo. We actually took a wheel in and had artists in residence sit there and throw pots, and people were fascinated by it. We got so many people stopping and talking to us about Access Arts and watching people throw pots. And then we won Best Booth. Like, I didn't even know this was a thing, but they vote, I guess. Somebody votes on which was the most engaging booth, and ours was pretty lo-fi. We didn't have balloons. We didn't have like fancy giveaways. We don't have the budget for that. We literally just had a guy pushing some mud around on a spinning plate, but we won. And so we get a free booth for this coming year. Right above that on the top right is Margaret, one of our artists in residence. And it's funny, she says, this is the first time I've ever had to throw in the dark. We were out at it wasn't Art in the Park, it was a family fun fest, and it ran until like 7 or so in the summer, but it started getting really dark toward the end of it. And the only light you can see is they started bringing around these plug-in lights to light things up. And so these are just, oh, and then bottom middle is Zola, Erica Dixon's daughter, working on a loom at Earth Day where we had a table. But we did a whole bunch of tabling. So that's what we do. How do we pay for it? We get money from class registration fees. People who can pay do pay. We get grants, and we get a lot, but some of our more standard ones that we get kind of every year, we get money from the Missouri Arts Council that we're very grateful for. We get money from the Office of Cultural Affairs through the city. VU Foundation has been very kind to us in recent years. We typically get a gift from them. We also get smaller gifts from several of the Optimist clubs and Rotaries and things like that, and we're very grateful for that. But there are other grants. I'm not naming all of them. Those are just some of the more steady ones that we kind of count on getting. We do fundraising events like Celebrity, which I had mentioned to some of you that just happened last month. And then we do individual donations, just like any nonprofit. Here's how you could help. If you want to help us with our mission, you can interact with us on social media. So if you're an Instagrammer, if you're a social media Facebooker, it's very helpful to have people pushing like, love, haha, whatever on our comments, those little emojis. And then even more golden is to just have any kind of a typed comment, because anytime you interact with a post on the Access Arts page, it tells Facebook, this is interesting, people are finding this interesting, and so then it shows it to more people. So that's just a free way, if you've got time, that is very helpful. And that's true of any of the nonprofits that you love and support. The more you can interact with their posts, the more helpful that is. You can volunteer, and I realize I've got some stuff going on in the chat, and we'll get to it when I bump out of here. I'll be able to see it. Dave's helping me out. We need volunteers, everything from those people that walk Benton over. We need yard work. Sometimes we need just little ticky-tacky. We had a volunteer, Mary, that cut a bunch of thread to length for those rainbow weaving kits we've been giving out. She just sat at night in front of her TV and measured those out and cut them out. And it's a real tedious task, but she was happy to help it. We need money. We need stuff. People like Ruth Millage had given us a bunch of really nice games that she had that they were no longer using, and we put those in our classrooms for summer camp. You can take a class or tell a friend, especially friends with kids, about our schools out camps and our summer camps and our class offerings. And then the unusual one is I just found out we've been nominated for the Diversity Award. And that is the thing that they announce at the big city Diversity Award celebration, the ones that had the all the drama because we had the drag queens there 2 years back, that one. They give an award, and this year it's a voting type thing. And so there'll be a thing in the chat. They need you to go to Be Heard Como and vote for us. You can vote for an individual and vote for a group, and we're one of the groups.
I've shared the link in the chat if you guys are interested in doing that right now.
Yep. And then next week, this is my last slide. We've got a holiday sale. It's Black Friday and Saturday. It's from 10 a.m. to 4 each day. That's going to be over at our Cottle Drive location because it's over near the mall. We thought that would be probably where people would be that were out shopping. And there's easy parking at the door, and we'll have some hot cider for sale. We're going to have an activity table for kids. So people who have kids can drop their kid off at the activity table and they can make a little craft while their mom or dad walks through. And then I've missed a ton of stuff in the chat. But that was pretty much all my slides. I'm happy to talk more about any of that.
Sarah, I've been responding to anything in the chat, so you're
Oh,
good.
great. Okay, good. I'm just skimming through. So yeah, Dave tapped in the Judy Human book. Oh, somebody asked the difference between spinning and weaving. Did that get answered? So
No, I sent it to you privately. So
oh, whoops. Yeah.
I didn't
So
wanna-
weaving was on the loom, and then you end up with kind of a fabric, like a woven fabric. Spinning is when you take raw, like wool or alpaca or like angora from a rabbit, and you literally are spinning it like Rumpelstiltskin into a thread, right? You're like making your own thread.
Spinning makes the
spinning.
thread, and then you weave the thread on a loom.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, pretty much. And so, I don't understand, to be honest, I don't understand the fascination with spinning. It seems like once you knew how to do it, you'd be like, oh, I know how to do it. People take that class over and over. Kate has made it so lovely for them. They sit over there and chit chat and spin on their wheels and are just happy as clams to be over there. And I'm happy as a clam to have them paying for that class over and over. It's amazing to me that people keep signing up for that.
Yeah, I'll just say a few words about that. We have had a long partnership with the Weavers and Spinners Guild of Mid-Missouri. And so a lot of those folks also take classes with us because we do have that studio. We've been, in the past, we've stored a lot of their fibers and thread and yarn and things there. Our students and their students take field trips to Kansas City to visit the yarn barn. I mean, so we have a strong tie to the historical relevance of that community, and it is super tight knit, pun intended. They very much stick together. So it is part of their social community, their social fiber. That's where they get their fulfillment. And I have a close friend who's in that community as well. And she's a math teacher, actually. She's been a math teacher for couple decades or 25 years or so, and she's just really gotten ingrained in that because weaving has so many foundations in mathematics, and then of course it kind of got into this whole spinning thing, and so now she's very educated about all the different fibers and how she can make her own fibers and spin her own things to make things with. So it's an end-to-end experience, and they do take it very seriously.
Very seriously. And Kate is really fun because she'll bring in local farmers who have the animals that create the fibers, and she'll have them come in and bring samples to class and stuff. So it's pretty neat. David Mallory, I saw your hand was up. Oh, you just muted. There you go.
It was another question about you introduced the full-time staff, but you didn't tell us again who Kate is. You said she's your boss.
Kate Dodig, she's just a per course instructor. So the only thing she teaches is the spinning. But usually 2 classes a session. We've usually got a beginning and an advanced. And we pay her by the class. We've got a few of those we've got a few instructors that we pay by the hour that come in that aren't full-time staff.
You
That
call
just
her
come
your
and
boss.
teach, kind of like an adjunct professor at a.
So that's two people, David. Kate is one of the fibers instructors that teaches the spinning class, and I'm Kate Stoll. I'm a different Kate. I am the president of the board. So
It's confusing.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was asking about. Okay. All right, got it.
I didn't even think about the fact you're both named Kate. That's so funny. You're so different in my mind that it just didn't even seem to be the same.
Sorry. Well, folks may not know me. I can give a little bit of my history if you're interested. See, Dave, you put a question. Who's on the board? Actually, I've got it up. I can share my screen.
Sure.
If you're interested, we do have a page on the website that is just for the board, and it has just been updated. I said I was the president. I guess I'm the outgoing president in our very most recent board meeting on Monday of this week. I was voted out. Not really. I'm the past president, but we've got Holly Linneman, who is our new president as of Monday evening. She works at the Talier Creative Arts School and has been on the board almost 3 years now. So she's an educator, an art educator. She's a very creative person, and she's been super involved on the board up until now. And I'm going to try. Yes, thank you for linking this page in the chat. Jackie Avant works at Simmons Bank. She's our vice president. She does a lot with the Columbia Public Schools. She's got kids in Columbia Public Schools, but she's a quality assurance analyst for Simmons Bank. So she does a lot of our board development work. Christina Heilman, she's our new treasurer. And she's the finance director for Columbia Housing Authority. So she's stepping in to do a lot of our accounting work as a certified accountant. And she's also helping a lot with our grant writing, which is a piece of our programming that we're trying to enhance as we go forward. And Kristen Walker, she works for the Assured Partners, another accounting firm. She's going to be our secretary. Both Christina and Kristen are fairly new members of our board, so we're excited to have them. They're very energetic and have a lot of ideas. I'm going to serve as past president. Dan Halavic is our former vice president. He works for the state of Missouri right now as an enterprise architect. He's the chief enterprise architect, but he'll be rolling off the board after December. But he's also active on other boards in Columbia, like Love Columbia, and does a lot of work for the community in that way. And oh, sorry, I was distracted by the chat. I should pay attention to what I'm talking about here. Bob Steinmetz, he was our former treasurer. He works for JK Financial. He's a wealth manager in town. And again, he does a lot of philanthropic work. He's also a hobby photographer. So definitely got that connection. Jerry Donahoe, Joy Jenkins, they are members. Jerry works for the Columbia Public Schools as an art teacher as well. Joy works for the Missouri School of Journalism. She's actually about to get tenure, so she's a wonderful addition. And James Manning is another great addition. Right now, he works at the nuclear plant in Centralia, but he actually has a huge background in ceramics and nonprofit ceramic management. So we're really excited that he's going to partner with Andrew, our director of ceramics at Access Arts, and try and add a little bit more Six Sigma discipline to the creative organization over with those different classes. So we're very excited.
What did he call it? A ninja or something? There's like a Six Sigma certification you get. I think that's called a ninja. I don't think I'm making that up, that he has like earned. So like he's got some definite skills in that.
He definitely does. And he takes it real seriously. And I'm excited because he brings a lot of experience with kind of monetizing different nonprofit capabilities and bringing that to the community in different ways. So I think it's something that we could really benefit from. It'll be new and definitely could benefit from some new innovation.
Alice, in answer to your question, I don't think Diversity Award comes with a cash gift, but they do usually a nice little video about you, and they show it at that diversity breakfast that we go to on MLK Day. And so, I mean, a room of, there's probably 400 people in that room, right? Or 5, gets to see information about Access Arts and what we have to offer. So I would love to get our mission and what we've got going on in front of all those people.
And it's also stuff that you can put in grants that you won that huge award.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
I get it now. I just
yeah. I don't think it comes with cash, but it certainly comes with benefits. I don't know who's had their hand up longer. Mari, do you want
to? I just wanted to mention, while we're talking about the nominations, I went in and voted while we were on the call, and I happened to notice that one of the nominees for the individual award is Wiley Miller.
Wiley Miller, and so I vote that one. I vote
another reason to go in and vote. You can vote for the group and then vote for Wiley for the
and he's the very last name, and the individuals. I was like, hey, look at that. Yeah, so really cool.
David, you had your hand up as well.
Yes, I didn't catch, what's the age range for your youth classes and camps?
You had asked that. So we usually start at age 5. So basically a kindergarten. And And usually it's a camp that's either for an elementary age kid, so kindergarten through 5th. And then we usually have a separate camp for middle schoolers. They kind of start to be their own animal at that age. So we'll have a 6th, 7th, and 8th. And sometimes we'll combine 6th, 7th, and 8th with high school because we don't get a whole lot of high school kids for camps. By that time, they usually have jobs and marching band and football and things. But we do have some that are crafty kids, and this is what they want to do. Just not enough of them to really populate a whole camp. So we'll sometimes group those together.
Sue?
Yes, I was just gonna say, I'm delighted to hear you folks have actually grown. I have a little story about the building being built.
Oh, please share.
The 2-story building there.
Moss.
Well, I guess it's Moss.
Yeah.
It was during the flood, and my daughter was taking our oldest daughter, Anne, was taking a class with Jenny Sennett.
Mm-hmm.
And Naomi came along because they were the windows there are actually doors. They're glass doors to make them bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were donated by Kunz Glass.
Mm.
But they had a lot of sheets of plastic, rolls of plastic. And Naomi came and offered one to Jenny because Jenny was living down in Hartsburg. And there was very little money. And Jenny said, "Oh,
That's still true."
No, it was really low.
Yeah.
And I mean, Naomi wasn't even feeling herself very well.
Oh.
And Jenny said, "You folks need it more than we do." I mean, Naomi said, "You folks need it more than we do."
Yeah.
My daughter almost actually wrote her senior college essay on that. But anyway, it's just, and Naomi she would be doing so much with a lot of different handicaps. She may have had she called to get kids to sign up for classes, and she may have stayed up all night working with a disabled kid that needed to, had some time, and then she's at the last minute trying to do this. So it's been a wonderful place.
I did pull up
Sounds
some
like
numbers. Oh, go ahead.
It sounds like it's really blossomed. I'm so glad to see that.
We're trying. I did pull out some numbers and I got in a hurry and got away from my notes. So I mentioned that we serve 60 kids per school year, but sometimes we have kids switch out at Christmas time and switch more in. But 60 kids a year come to Benton Art Club. So far, our free veterans classes, we've given away 75 classes at this point. 6-week classes. Some of those are like people can take it more than once. So you could sign up over and over and take ceramics again and again. So it's not 75 unique users, but 75 classes that we've provided. This year, according to our registration software, through the end of December, we've had 1,014 6-week classes, and those are 5 through adult. I didn't differentiate by age, but the 6-week classes, we've had over 1,000 of those that we've provided. Again, I said we've got the 8 weeks of summer camp. We had a week of camp at spring break. We've had 10 single-day schools out camps. And then, yeah, and there's lots and lots of kids there. Let's see, there's some stuff downstairs for making molds, but in answer to David's question, in my memory, we've not offered, it's like called slip casting, and you make it real thin, kind of drippy, usually porcelain, and you pour it into a mold. People did that in my college ceramics program. There were a couple of students that specialized in that, but there's nobody on our staff right now that's really into that. But we do have a little bit of equipment left over from someone had been doing it. And then somebody asked about CMCA, I think.
I responded. I went on the CMCA website and I didn't see any mention of Access Arts, but I think that is probably a good lead and something that we could connect with because of all the different services we offer seem to align very well with what they support.
Yeah, thanks for that. And welcome home. Now, I have interacted with Welcome Home, the veterans housing, because that is just right down the street from us in the old motel that they did. The Welcome Home Veterans Campus is just right down on the business loop from us. I often will check in with them, usually at least every time we open up another section, I'll be like, you know, send us your veterans, we've got free classes. But then I have not, I had coffee with somebody that was helping with the powerhouse. And that was a while back and nothing really came of it. I'd be happy to talk to them some more about with the Rock and community development and powerhouse, definitely. And Kathy, I don't know that we have the equipment to do enameling. I think it requires some kind of a smelting equipment that I don't think we have. Nobody here on staff right now is doing that anyway.
We have in the past done encaustic artwork, which is the wax melting with wax.
Yeah.
My sister did enameling with a kiln. So she just used, she had, you know, tons of enamel, the powders, and she did a lot. I've got a lot of examples of her work that she did with that.
And you would just lay it in there and the powder would just be there and then it would heat and it would pool into the, I don't have any experience with that at all.
Yeah, she did actually realistic paintings like birds and the country church that we went to and things like that. Hers, she had a very unique style. A lot of it is more that I've seen looks more like impressionist painting.
I'd love to see that sometime.
Okay.
David, I see you've got your hand up.
Well, I served on the board when we.
I'm sure you did.
when we were building the mosque and when we purchased the artist residence, and I served for a number of years there, and I'm really impressed with how you have expanded it and the sort of things that you are doing. That's impressive. How well that's worked out.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't even been here a year. My anniversary date is December 11th. So I still really feel like I'm still just trying to get my feet under me and see how everything is working. So we've got plans to even do some more expansions and things, but I'm kind of conservative in making changes. I kind of like to see how things are going. Not make makes gentle corrections. I'm not one to just come in and clean house. And so, yeah, hopefully we can just keep growing. And I'm getting a better sense of how things are working, where our funding comes from, the seasons of the funding, when it's expected. And it helps me be able to think forward and make plans for more things. Yes, I love the Mid-Missouri Art Alliance. I was just on a Zoom with them yesterday. I'm going to apply for some creative forces funding through the Department of Defense. And they had a Zoom to help with that and had some of the current people around the country who have that funding talking about it. But I'm hoping to expand our veterans program. And we've done a couple of workshops with female vets in partnership with Truman VA and with Mission Promise Kept over at Stevens. And I'd like to make that like a quarterly workshop that's for them, and maybe do some parent-child classes for families that have enlisted members who are deployed is the word I'm looking for. I don't know. I'm just starting to dream up what I'm going to ask for. It's due January 15th. Oh, nice.
I think Sue had, yeah.
Yep.
No, it's her.
You never know. They take turns usually.
I wanted to get in before we close.
Yep.
Thanks to both of you. Thank you, Kate, for your service. And thank you especially, Sarah, for stepping in.
Oh, thanks.
The Access Arts program, as we now call it, is distinctive, wide-ranging, and very significant in helping to make life in Columbia and beyond both good and fun.
Thanks.
And you, Sarah, have stepped in to rescue and or to help further solidify many truly important institutions and programs in this town. You, madam, are a super citizen.
Aww.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't think of myself as being a fixer, but then when I look over my history, it's like, yeah, when KOPN was in trouble 2 different times, I got called in. It's like, I don't think of myself in that role, but it seems like I've found myself in that role a few different times.
There are many places that need fixers. Organized crime is one. I'm glad you did not go that path.
Yeah.
The Democratic
Obviously,
Party
similar
comes to
skill set.
mind. Huh.
Yes,
What-
right.
What's that, Dave Taylor?
Oh, needing fixing. I said the Democratic Party comes to mind.
Yeah, that's a
No,
big job.
You've done
they
that.
can't have her. We need her.
Yeah. We had
Where
her
were
for a
we?
while.
We were at the Kindness Awards, and Andrew Graybaugh walked up to us, and he's leaving the United Way, and I'm like, "Oh, are you still looking for that?" Kate's like, "Nope."
You can't do it. You can't do
I
it.
was just
Nope.
curious to hear who they were hiring, but she was like, "Nope, you're not applying for that." It's like, no, I really wasn't. I wasn't even thinking about it. I'm just real curious to see who takes on that role. It's an important role.
It is an important role. I know some folks
Well,
on the
good.
recruitment team there, and I think they're just gonna find somebody stellar.
I forgot they had that gallery. Yeah, I need to.
It's really become a happening place in Ashland, and they also are offering courses, some for free, some for pay to the artist. And they do everything from, drawing to glass to weaving, yeah, all the different arts. And so I think
Drop
it would
in.
be a wonderful alliance between
Yeah.
Yeah, we should
between you
definitely
and
reach
them.
out.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should make a trip out there and set that up. I spent yesterday afternoon, Andrew and I went and met Marina, who's teaching a class out at William Woods. They have a really lovely ceramic studio, and she's teaching weaving there. And just kind of looked at all their spaces and met their faculty, and we're trying to talk about ways that we could partner with them. And if there's internships that we could build for them that would help their students be more marketable. And so, yeah, we're always looking for friends and partnerships and ways to share the resources we have with people that don't have access to those, whether it's a wood kiln and they're a ceramicist and they would like to try a wood kiln and their school doesn't have one, or
That's a great idea.
What was in Ashland? I didn't get what was
the
that.
Mid-Missouri Art Alliance, and they have a little
Okay.
gallery.
Yeah, they have a gallery right on Broadway,
that.
and any artist can display stuff there, and they'll sell it on consignment for you.
Well,
And-
I need to mention that to our artists, because our artists and
Yes.
residents are always looking for that, and I didn't realize they were taking consignments, and so I'll definitely make that connection. That's great.
I forgot Ashland has a Broadway too. Is that right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah, the main street through Ashland, east and west, is called Broadway.
Yep.
You might call it Highway M.
Yeah. We've got 1 minute. Anybody else have a burning question?
Just to thank you for all you've done and do.
Well, thanks for giving me a chance to brag on all my folks and talk about what we're doing. And again, if you have Christmas gifts to buy, we'd love to see you at our sale at the end of next week. Love to have you come join us for a class. We start at age 5, but I mean, we've got multiple people in their 70s and 80s that take classes here. It's
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Sarah, where, one final time, then the sale next week, where will that be held? Which building?
It's at Caudle, so that's the place that's over north of the mall. It's kind of like on the way to the American Legion. If you were going north, yeah, it's before you get that far out, before you hit that curve to the left. It's across from the golf course.
Well, thank you very much.
Really
Appreciate it.
enlightened me, because I thought this Access Arts was only for disabled people.
That is a common misconception. It's like,
Yeah.
something's talking to me in here. I don't know what it is. Something talking about a battery. It just started chirping at me.
Chirping.
I don't know what that is.
Thank
you're not
you,
hearing it.
Sarah. Appreciate you coming in today and share. You're always in here, but thanks for sharing your Access Arts information, filling it out. So give a big hand to
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Appreciate that very much. And again, Kate, nice to have you with us also. We'll transition now to business portion.